Been a lot of stress, anxiety throughout this last several weeks about Social Security checks, DOGE, what they're going to do with Social Security checks. But regular viewers to my channel know that over the last few weeks, we've had a lot of people join the live Q&A, and a lot of people are, really, really freaked out about what DOGE is doing with this in-person ID checking for claims, for direct deposit, and all the rest of it. So we're going to talk about that. It turns out that there was much ado about nothing, and the question is, why did they decide to really stress out elderly and disabled out there? There was a terrible case that we had in our live Q&A about a week or so ago. A person came in on disability, and she came in and said, she can't sleep at night, and she's already, yeah, her case was not good. And this is the result of people in charge of Social Security, DOGE in charge of Social Security, not knowing what they're doing, or they just might know what they're doing. And there are two alternatives here. I'm going to talk about the first one, and then I'm going to talk about the more scary second one. All right, so if you're new to my channel, my name is Ed Weir. I ran the third business Social Security office in the country. And so the entire situation rests around this ID proofing. So the original one that came out a few weeks ago was, okay, if you can't go online, if you're going to file a claim over the phone, then you can go ahead and file the claim over the phone, but then you will have to go down to your local Social Security office. Okay, all right, no problem. And the idea was to stop fraud, waste, and abuse. Okay, good, we like that. So you have to look at it this way. So about a month ago, 2 months ago, you had these guys, millionaires and billionaires, deciding the future of Social Security and how you're going to be able to access your Social Security. Obviously, they don't need it, but they are the ones, or I'm not sure which members of this particular group made this decision, whether it was any one of these or all of them, or their compatriots, or whatever the case may be. But you had DOGE people, including the acting commissioner of Social Security, who is a DOGE person. So you had these people about a month or so ago in a room, and they were looking for fraud, waste, and abuse. Okay, good. That's a good start. And then they said, okay, well, you can file online. There's fraud, waste, and abuse. People will try to file online that are, not that person, and the system flags it, and those people are asked to come in and everything. So that's not an issue. And they say, okay, people can also take a claim over the phone. And they say, well, how do you ID it? And well, they're looking for fraud, waste, and abuse. And I can tell you, my office, we've taken hundreds of thousands of claims. You can look at the Inspector General's report that this type of fraud, people filing claims on the phone, retirement claims, survivor benefits, disability claims, committing fraud in the sense of pretending, they're not that actual person. Very, 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 very small amount of fraud in that case. And whatever there is, there's almost always caught. Um, there's fraud other places, people, receiving disability benefits. So there's so much fraud other places that, you could really go into, but they decided to focus on this one that's a very, 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 very small. Okay, it's still fraud, one case is still too much, right? So they're in this room and they said, oh, okay, let's see what we can do to stop that, 1 in 100,000 or 1 in a million case of fraud. Okay, and put your resources other places. But anyway, all right, we'll give them a pass on that one. And they say, okay, well, if it's going to be over the phone, even though we ask them a ton of questions, if you ever done a phone appointment, and I've done hundreds of thousands of them, that it's the person. You ask them all kinds of questions about, where they're born, their mother's maiden name, their earnings, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it doesn't really happen. So if they do it over the phone, then they have to go in. And so that's what they decided to do. And they didn't really advertise that or publicize that very well. And this is what the issue happened, is everybody thought, okay, in order to get my benefits continued by April 1st, I have to go down to the Social Security Administration and show them ID, or I'm not going to get my benefits in April. So number one, a terrible job rolling this out, because it freaked people out, stressed people. We're talking elderly, disabled. The person that joined us about a week or so ago, it was a terrible, terrible rollout, messaging. Okay. So number one, that was a terrible job. Number two is you've got a lot of people, survivor benefits elderly, that are now entitled to survivor benefits that have to file a new claim. They live 100 miles away and they're 95 years old. It's hard for them to go down to ID themselves, and that type of fraud it pretty much doesn't happen. But we're making them go down and go down to a local office, and there's no staff in the local offices because DOGE has let off so many people. Offices may be closing. So it's a terrible situation across the board. So that was the decision to do that. All the while, they had a solution that they just introduced. And the one they just introduced, so they said, okay, never mind, we're not going to do everything that we talked about over the last month. We're not going to do any of that anymore because we came up with this technology. The enhanced technology enables Social Security to identify suspicious activity in telephone claims by analyzing patterns and anomalies with a person's account. So this is a press release that just came out yesterday, basically. And so they, it was a simple technology fix that they decided not to do. They could have done this simple, according to them, a very simple technology fix to solve the issue. But they decided not to a month or 2 months ago. They said option A, freak people out, cause trouble, make the 95-year-old lady freak out that their benefits are going to stop. People on disability, mental disability, physical disability, we're going to force them to do X, Y, and Z. We'll pick that one. But someone in the room says, or we can just do this easy little thing right here and that'll solve all the issues. No, let's freak people out. So not sure whose great idea that was to do that to the American public, but it wasn't a good decision. It definitely was not a good decision when supposedly they had something very, very simple that they could institute. That's cruel or heartless or both, or I'm not sure who was ultimately responsible for that, but we know the buck stops, as the president used to say. Now, the scary part of all this is I've taken hundreds of thousands of retirement claims, disability claims, and here's the scary thing that I notice here. The enhanced technology enables Social Security to identify suspicious activity in telephone claims by analyzing patterns and anomalies with a person's account. So, okay, so if this is a phone type of fix, then it has to go. I mean, there is no accounts on the phone. It's, are they listening to, the person's voice, and is there some type of voice, fingerprinting that they're using? I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's what they're talking about, because they're talking about analyzing patterns and anything strange in a person's account. And the only way you can do that is if you give this enhanced technology access to the computer system. PCOM, MCS, MISIX, which was the internal computer systems that Social Security employs when you call and have an appointment for retirement or disability or survivor benefits or spouse benefits or Medicare, any of that. Then Social Security goes into, in this particular case, they go into MCS, modernized claim system. It's not really modernized. It's been around since, for decades. They need to update it. But anyway, they go into there and that has everything. So now this tool, this whatever, has complete access to everything. Your Social Security number, your name, your maiden name, your date of birth, your parents' name, your mother's maiden name, your earnings record, how much you made throughout your life, where you worked throughout your life, who you were married to, who you're divorced from, who your kids, how much your kids are making, where they live. They have access. This tool that DOGE wrote the code has access to everything, anything and everything. And I don't know about you, but yeah, I don't like that at all. And now they're coming up with another thing that they've been announcing, that they're going to use Social Security records to self-deport illegal immigrants. So if you're in this country illegally, they believe you're not supposed to be in this country for whatever reason, they use the Social Security database to go in there and put you as dead and say you're dead. And then no, credit cards, no banks, no nothing. You're essentially dead. And we've seen reports about people that, are incorrectly marked as deceased in the Social Security database. And it takes a long, long time to get reinstated to, as Social Security employees says, resurrect this particular individual. So between the fact that they now have information possibly, and maybe that's why they're closing out DOGE, and Elon Musk is now leaving Social Security because they've done what they wanted to do. Was this the goal all the time, to introduce this kind of Trojan horse, Trojan horse from old Greek mythology? They the Trojans said they're the ones that brought the Trojan horse behind the walls, and then Doge popped out. I mean, the Greeks popped out afterwards, right? So was this the intention all the time? I hate to get conspiratorial here, but I don't like the idea of a Doge computer programming program having access. And how do we stop that? Well, there are people called inspectors general that are supposed to go after things like that, to double check that type of thing. And those are the people that find fraud, waste, and abuse every single day in Social Security and Department of Labor and Veterans Affairs and all that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, that was one of the first acts of the current president, was to fire all the inspectors general. Um, so if you're good with that, then I guess you're good with that. But yeah, that kind of I don't I think someone needs to go in there and check this code and see exactly what it's doing. Um, I I'm basically calling BS on it. I think rather than something that conspiratorial, I think they just made a stupid decision to make everybody go into the local office, and then they realize they made a stupid decision, and rather than say they made a stupid decision, they say, oh, we've introduced this new technology, which I don't think they did, because anyway. But why are they lying? Did they or didn't they? According to them, they did. I don't think they did. I think it's just BS because they're trying to cover themselves. But anyway, so it's crazy out there. All right, so let's get into all of your questions, and if you disagree, if you've got anything else, yeah, definitely let me know. Okay, let's go down the list here. I sent in the form for payment assistance over a month ago. They recently told me my Part D is under consideration. Do I have to contact Medicaid in my state in order to get help with the $185? Okay, so you requested, good deal, good deal. You requested the extra help with your Medicare Part D plan. So those are super easy applications to do, one of the easiest applications, but unfortunately the staffing issue is there. And so hopefully something happens here soon. And it does, yeah, once they activate it, it takes a little while to, hit your record and, update in the computer system. But in terms of the $185, yes, 100%. Reach out to Medicaid and ask and sign up for Medicaid. If you're already signed up for Medicaid, then ask them, and they're not paying for $185, ask them to see if they can pay for $185. And it's called the Medicare Savings Program. And you have to be in Medicaid, you QMB or SlimB or QI. It's a little bit different in each state, but yeah. And if they approve you, then they will pay for your $185, and then you'll be what's called dual eligible. You'll have Medicare and Medicaid, and then you'll have the extra help with prescription drugs, and hopefully they've Medicare Savings Program where they pay your $185, and then you can sign up for a Medicare Advantage dual eligible plan. I usually recommend Medicare supplements, but if you have Medicaid, you can't get a Medicare supplement, the Plan N or Plan G. But a Medicare Advantage dual eligible plan, you can call Chapter, who sponsors this Q&A, and you can ask them if one is available, and you can call them up too and ask them for help, navigating the whole Medicaid thing and seeing if there's actually something available in your area that's good for you. They provide 100% free help. Hi, Ed, on SSI, not SSA. Thank you for the clarification. If I miss a check, can I get help with reimbursement? Yeah, it doesn't matter whether you're on SSI or SSA, which Vince knows is different. Yeah, if you miss a check for whatever reason, then you can go down. If you have direct deposit, you just go down there and say, hey, missed a check. And what they do is they do a trace through the Department of Treasury, find out what happened to that direct deposit. And if something had messed up, they can, they can push out another check, another direct deposit. If you need the money immediately, you have to go down there and provide some type of proof, like an eviction notice, or they're going to shut off your electricity or something like that, and they can give you a check out of the office. I'm 63, not really wanting to file for Social Security until 70, which is better, file now or wait. Yeah, it really depends on you. If you, so if you want to file for disability, your disability, Social Security defines the disability as inability to work. So if you're not able to work because of whatever disability, that disability is going to last 12 months or longer, then yeah, file. But if you file for disability, okay, here's a trick that nobody knows, not many people know. So if you're disabled and they determine you're disabled and they start your benefits, let's say you're 63, they start at 63. Then you can go ahead and collect disability benefits up until your full retirement age. And how much do you get? You get your benefit at your full retirement age. It's not reduced, for because you started at 63. Disability benefits are not reduced like that for, getting it early. And here's the trick, nobody knows, is you can do voluntary delayed retirement credits. So you go ahead and start your disability, and then a few months before you turn your full retirement age, you contact Social Security and you tell them that you want to do voluntary delayed retirement credits. And when you do that, if you go down to the local office and you tell someone at the front window that, they'll say you can't do that because not many people know about it, not many people do it. So you'll say, okay, that's nice. Thank you for your opinion. I want to talk to a Title II claim specialist. And then you just say VDRC, voluntary delayed retirement credits. And possibly they won't know about it either. Just have to tell them to go back and research it in Palms, and they'll say, "Oh wow, not many people use that," and so they probably don't know about it. So basically, what you do is at your full retirement age, what happens to everybody on disability is they're switched from disability to regular retirement benefits. And when you hit your full retirement age, you can say, "No, I don't want to do that. Just stop my benefits." So you stop your benefits. You don't get benefits when you're 67, 68, 69, and then you restart your benefits at 70. And yeah, so that's a trick. Let's see here. I'm on disability widow's benefits. Will I have to file again when I turn 59 to continue my benefits? Alicia, no, you do not. You're good. So you're receiving disabled widow's benefits. You don't do anything. So yeah, when you turn 60, it doesn't matter because you're already receiving survivor benefits. When you turn 62 on your own record, if there's more money on your own record, you might want to think about switching, but you don't have to. You can just continue receiving disabled widow benefits forever. But if your benefits on your own record, because you're not touching benefits on your own record, your benefits on your own record will continue to increase. So, at 62, if there are more, switch over to that if you want. But if at 67, if there are more, switch over. But don't wait till past 70 years old because you stop receiving those delayed retirement credits at 70.